Hello guys and welcome back. This is part 2 of the E5 2690 8-core 16-thread Xeon. This video is late, I know this is part 2, so if you didn't watch part 1, we actually put a Xeon 2690 into an Asus GeneA 2011 board with a GTX 970, and this video is just going to show the performance of this PC. This is part 2. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to watch part 1. So, one thing I want to get off the bat straight away is I got the CPU overclocked, guys. Overclocked to a really nice, just under 3.5 gigahertz. It actually goes to 3.465. So really well overclocked there, which really helps a lot in like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Really helps because that is a really demanding CPU intensive game. So yeah. The graphics card is overclocked as well, just to increase performance, because if anything here, the graphics card is going to bottleneck this performance, not the Xeon. And I think this is going to do really well. So, let's get into the test, guys. All games will be run at high settings. I don't mean high settings in the maximum, it's a one below ultra, so high settings. And I think this is going to do pretty darn well, guys. So let's get into it. Okay, so first up we have Battlefield 5. And as you can already see, guys, we're already above 60 FPS, which is pretty darn nice and gives us a nice playable experience. And as you can see, the core ratio on each core is 3465 MHz on all cores, so that is pretty darn nice as well. It means the overclock's working. The overclock was stress test on the CPU as well, guys, for at least, I think it was 3.5 hours, just to make sure it was stable before I actually did these gaming tests. But as we can see, Battlefield 5 had no problems in running high settings above 60 FPS. Next up, I run Gears of War 5, and yet again we were above 60 FPS again, and the FPS was just glorious. Really well optimized this game, and by this point in the video, just in the second game, I knew that from here on out all the games were going to do well unless the game was not well optimized. But yeah, Gears of War 5 was another one that never dropped below 60 FPS, and it was very playable on this Xeon. I tried Metro Exodus, and here the situation actually changed. In high settings, here the FPS were actually all over the place. It was either the high 40s or like above the 60 FPS range. It felt really smooth and it was playable. And the CPU usage is actually quite high in this game. But this is definitely one of those games where you need a higher GPU to get 60 FPS in the high to ultra settings. If we'd have dropped this down to medium, we could have always got a playable 60 FPS, I reckon. But in the high, the FPS was all over the place on the Xeon and the GTX 970. Next up, Ghost Recon Wildlands. And as you can see, guys, this was yet another game that we're running above 60 FPS, no problems at all. I actually took a bike for a stroll on this little playable level, and I actually quite enjoyed going down this hill on this bike, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, it was always above 60 FPS, and yeah, this is another game that you can have no problems playing this game with the Xeon. Like I said, the Xeon is by far, if you're actually on a budget and you want some great performance, going Xeon instead of like an i7 3930K or like a 4930K or even the 4960X is definitely the way to go, because you still get definitely playable experience above 60 FPS, bearing in mind on what actual GPU you pair with it. But here I thought I'd be a bit silly and just go off course a little bit, and yeah, I had quite a little bit of fun on this game. Here we have Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and we can already see by the start of the benchmark inside the game, we're around 60 FPS. And we actually did really well on this benchmark, guys. In the end of this test, we actually scored an average of 62 FPS. So you're going to have no problems playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider with this CPU either. And same with Far Cry New Dawn. As like the Shadow of the Tomb Raider are in the in-game benchmark in high settings. And this was another one that actually did pretty darn well, guys. We got an average of 72 FPS at the end of this run, and this will give you an awesome playable experience as well, playing the game. So, already guys, I'm already telling you guys, you can get this CPU for a really good deal and the motherboard for a really good deal. This actually rivals the Ryzen 1600, 6 core, 12 thread. In price to performance, if you actually can get a good deal on it, this is not a bad way to go. Here we have Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and we actually got an average of 52 FPS on this benchmark run. This could have easily been achieved 60 FPS if we load the settings down to medium. But although we actually got 52 FPS in high settings, this would actually still be an okay playable experience. But if you actually wanted the FPS above 60, you could lower it down to medium. But I think 52 FPS on an average is not bad at all for a playable experience. And this actually did really well. This game is actually really CPU intensive, and to get this sort of performance out of the CPU is actually really darn well. Like I said, the graphics card is actually holding us back here, not the CPU. So this actually did really well. Okay, so this is Call of Duty World at War, and I thought I'd have a little play around on the zombie Nazi mode. And to my surprise, guys, in high settings, this actually ran really well. We were always above 90 FPS the entire run. Majority of the time we were above 100 FPS. And actually I had a swinging of a time just killing these zombies. So yeah, this actually ran really well on Call of Duty World at War. And this is actually a really good playable experience. If you had a high refresh rate monitor, you could be taking advantage. If you put in medium settings, I would, no doubt in my mind, you get close to 144 Hz. If you had a 144 Hz monitor, this would feel silky smooth. And last up, we have good old Doom. In high settings, good old potato Doom. And I already don't have to tell you guys, we never drop below 100 FPS. And wow, it actually felt so smooth. And no matter what I actually test, let's actually go like GT610. This game is always going to be playable. It actually runs on a potato. So yeah, I actually threw this in at the end again as a little joke. But yeah, high settings, guys, and we never dropped below 100 FPS. So very good. Toss a coin to your Witcher. Oh, okay. No one with me? No? Okay. Here we have Witcher 3 in high settings on one of the DLC levels, just at the beginning, riding the horse. And what's strange is here is actually the CPU core ratio actually went up, to my surprise. It went to 3.570, but obviously some cores were at 0%. This is the only game this actually occurred on, but I actually thought it was pretty weird. But I'll take it. And this actually now went below 60 FPS as well. So Witcher 3 in high settings, you're going to have no problems playing with this Xeon 2690 and a GTX 970. So very playable. I ran Cinebench, and we got a score of 1205. But what interesting to see, guys, look how close it actually is to the Ryzen 1600. And wow, this CPU for 8 years old performs pretty darn well. And if you can get this for a cheap price, I would highly recommend it. So wow, the performance is pretty darn good. 8 core, 16 threads. This Xeon is an 8-year-old Xeon, guys. 8 years old, and it's still kicking ass in modern games. Nah, Would I recommend this sort of setup? Yes and no. If you can get a really cheap deal on an X79 motherboard, cheap power supply, don't really matter the case, you could put it in a really crappy case if you wanted to, and you can get this CPU for around the same price I did, or even cheaper, you are laughing. You pick up on these Xeons for between £60 and £70, and you obviously try and get everything as cheap as possible. You are laughing. You just put a graphics card in there, and you are going to be gaming 60 FPS in high settings, as long as it's like a 970. If you get an older graphics card, just put the settings down to low or medium, and you're still going to be doing fine. And the CPU has plenty of headroom if you ever want to upgrade the graphics card in the future. So really, you don't always need the latest tech, guys, to game well. Like I said, this game in high settings, guys, and this is an 8-year-old CPU. You don't always need the highest possible components to game on, like, well, maybe for ultra settings, but for 1080p, you do not need to spend thousands of pounds on a computer. I was absolutely blown away with this performance of this PC, and then I was actually that blown away with this Xeon. In the next video, guys, I have already ordered the E5 2690 version 2. That is a 10 core, 20 thread CPU, and that will be the next video. So until then, guys, thank you for all the support, the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you later.